in interview after interview, question after question, and in the debate, you refused to say that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election. So I'm just going to assume that if I ask you 50 times whether he lost the election, you would not acknowledge that he did. Is that correct?
Martha, you asked this question. I've been asked this question 10 times in the past couple of weeks. Of course, Donald Trump and I believe there were problems in 2020. You haven't asked about inflation.
No, I'm sorry. Let's stick to this.
People,
I know.
The American people want us to talk about how to make their lives better. They don't want us to.
Why won't you say that?
Because, Martha, I believe that in 2020, when big tech firms were censoring American citizens, that created very serious problems. And by the way, Martha, you're a journalist. You represent the American media. Look at the polling on this. A lot of Americans feel like they were silenced in the run-up to the 2020 election. That is such a bigger issue, that fundamental problem, than me and Donald Trump talking about it. And unfortunately,
but
Martha,
I don't understand why you won't just say it if you believe it.
Won't just say what? That I think the 2020 election had some problems? I've said that repeatedly.
Did Donald Trump lose? That's the question, and you know that's the question.
Martha, I've said repeatedly, I think the 2020 election had problems. You want to say rigged? You want to say he won? Use whatever vocabulary term you want. I want to focus on the fact that we had big technology firms censoring our fellow citizens in a way that violated our fundamental rights. The fact that you're so obsessed with what word I used to describe this phenomenon rather than the phenomenon itself suggests something very broken in the American media. If we want to restore trust in American elections and democracy, which I want to do, Martha, we have to talk openly about what happened in 2020. And most importantly, we've got to talk about what happened afterwards. Okay. Americans being unable to afford the basic necessities of middle-class life because Kamala Harris is in the White House.
We're going to leave it right there. Appreciate your time this morning. And Democratic Governor Andy Beshear of Kentucky joins me now. A lot of hard work ahead. I'd like to hear a quick reaction to what you heard J.D. Vance talk about.
It's just amazing. Apparently there is no lie too big for Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. I mean, when you ask him about the last election, all you're asking him to do is admit reality. And we deserve to have a vice president who believes in democracy and can say, yes, Donald Trump lost the last election, and now we're running in this election. And then the lies on FEMA and disaster response. Listen, in Kentucky, we went through our worst tornado disaster and our worst flood disaster in our history. And I didn't have to deal with any of the shenanigans that Donald Trump is putting out right now. And his lies can hurt people. I mean, lying that $750 is all that's available, that means that individual might not apply for the $40,000 plus in individual assistance. Like, if you truly care about the people that are harmed more than yourself, you wouldn't politicize this. You wouldn't be putting out all this misinformation.